Rob, I'd like to get your critical view on particularly the Bulls and the Stormers. The Stormers traditionally very strong on defence, and like we mentioned, have conceded a hell of a lot of tries. Beating the Chiefs, which was I know a big goal for them at the outset, but then losing 3 consecutive games to Kiwi side since. And then the Bulls, traditionally one of the better South African teams. They've won the title twice, really in a bad way. What is the problem there?
I think perhaps starting with the Bulls, considering they got so trampled at Loftus, that was probably the big talking point of the weekend. I just think Victor Matfield, obviously one of their all-time legends, hit the nail on the head when he asked afterwards, quite ruefully, what is the DNA of the Bulls? What is the central feature of that side? And nobody knows. And it seems as if the players don't know either. They're caught sort of twixt and between. They don't know what their real template, their game plan is. So they sort of bumble around, kind of hoping for the best. Their running lines are incredibly predictable. Which just and New Zealand sides love that, because they've already they've sort of planned ahead. If they know what to expect, then they immediately get the sort of counter rumble on, and take care of sort of fragmented defence, and that's a key issue for the Bulls' defence. It's really woeful. There just seems to be a lack of hunger. Defence is as well as it's sort of strategic, it's also a mindset thing. And if you're a team without the necessary mindset on defence, then it doesn't matter how good it looks on paper, it will unravel, and that's what's happening to them at the moment. So they've got an awful lot of thinking to do. Their fans will be very disgruntled. I'll bet you their gates are going to be pretty atrocious, already struggling to get people through the turnstiles this season. And I don't see the situation getting any better after that sort of defeat. 10 tries to 3, leaking 10 tries at Loftus is a real indictment. As for the Stormers, my suspicion, Nick, is that their big problem is a lack of physicality in key areas. They've got a very lightweight back 3, whereas when you play New Zealand sides, you're often playing against a very athletic but heavyweight back 3. Really big guys, often sort of guys with sort of roots in Pacific Island heritage, and we all know their sort of amazing athletic ability and pure power. And the Stormers have a bit of an issue. I think it's okay to have a sort of...
Particularly, sorry, Rob, with some of those cross kicks they were getting from the Hurricanes.
Exactly, and you know what? That's the Hurricanes classically sort of knowing how to exploit opposition weakness. The other area that I think the Stormers lack a little bit of muscle in is at loose forward. I still think you need a really big classical blindside flank. I'm not sure that Siya Kolisi actually fits that bill. I think he's got a big ticker and a lot of talent, but I still think he's actually more of an open side flank. I still believe that he should be groomed more into sort of an open side flank. And then they've got to find a big bruiser for the number 7, because they've also got a very rangy, athletic sort of number 8. So Nizam Kar also doesn't sort of dominate in collisions and so on. So the Stormers tend to be often going backwards because they're being physically outmuscled. They're sort of starting their moves from behind the advantage line, which I don't think is a great idea. I think it's problematic in terms of trying to sort of break open a much more streetwise New Zealand defence, for instance. So we're seeing quite a lot of those weaknesses come to the fore. The other thing to remember, I suppose, for the Stormers is that they do have an awful lot of injuries at the moment. Injuries have come at a very bad time. So that's making things tough for Robbie Fleck. I'm not a Flecky apologist, but I also think that he actually is a good coach. I think he is trying to do good things. I think he is trying to evolve the Stormers' game plan. But there are some very, very sore teething pains at the moment, and we're just seeing the middle of them, unfortunately.